If you're just starting off in golf, or maybe you've been playing for a while, but you still struggle to really hit consistent shots, I've got great news for you. There has never been a time in history where we've had more options for forgiving clubs. Today's game improvement irons help you get the ball up in the air faster, fly further, and fly straighter. And on today's video, I'm going to break down the best options that I've seen for game improvement irons in 2025. Before we get to my top 3 options, we're going to start here with some notable runner-ups. Now, as I said, there are a ton of great options to choose from. And the following clubs are fantastic in their own right, but just missed my top 3. We're going to start here with the Callaway Elite. These clubs in particular are some of the straightest clubs that I've tested in 2025. They're incredibly consistent. I first had the opportunity to try them over at the PGA show, and right away I found that my shots were landing in an extremely tight dispersion circle out on the range in real life. I finally got to take these clubs out on course, and I saw very similar results. Even on strikes from different parts of the face, my shots consistently landed in similar places on the golf course. Now, one drawback with the Callaway Elite irons that I found was that the feel and the sound, especially on off-center hits, can be quite harsh. These come in at $899 for a set of 5 through pitching wedge, and I gave them a total score of 88 points in my scoring system. Next on my list is the Wilson Staff Dynapower irons here in 2025. This is actually a new model. There was a model released in 2023, which I absolutely adored, and this is the updated version from Wilson Staff. Now, there simply may not be an easier club to hit than this Dynapower line. They're also some of the longest in the category that I've tried. One drawback I found in my testing is that they do lack spin, and therefore they're going to lack some stopping power on the greens. And if you don't know what stopping power is, it's when you hit the green on a shot, can it actually hold the green, or is it going to roll off onto the back or to the side of the green itself? As golfers, we want shots to fly as far as they can, but they also need to hold greens and stick on the surface. And I think you might have a little bit of trouble here with the Wilson Staff Dynapower line this year. The price of the 2025 model has also slipped up a little bit. These now retail for $899 for a 5 through pitching wedge set. When they were $699, I thought that was an incredible buy. But at $899, I do think there are some stronger contenders in this category this year. Overall, I gave the Wilson Staff Dynapower irons an 88-point ranking in my testing. Our last runner-up before the top 3 here is the TaylorMade QI line of irons. Now, for many years, TaylorMade has been crafting really great game improvement irons. I, in fact, gamed the Sim2 Max irons back in the day. I also really enjoyed the Stealth. These new QIs really follow in that tradition. They are solid all around. They provide great distance, extreme forgiveness, and I would say better than average feel. These irons are a little bit more expensive in price. A set of 4 through pitching wedge will run you $999. I gave them a score of 90 points in my testing, just outside the top 3. Now, before we get into my top 3 picks, I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, Victory Insoles. So on the subject of improving my game, one thing I've done this year to improve my stability and control, as well as my post-round recovery, is to replace the flimsy, floppy standard insoles in my golf shoes with these from Victory. These insoles are made from carbon fiber, which is 5 times stronger than steel, and they're designed to give you more stability on the course and to maximize your energy transfer during the golf swing. Wearing these insoles in my spikeless shoes, I still get the feeling of being more rooted, and now I've got the stability I was missing from my spiked shoes. This leads to more controlled shots and can even help generate some extra power in the golf swing by harnessing that ground force. The other great thing about Victory insoles is they also cushion your feet and your knees from the impact and the force that's created during the swing, which means that after the round, I feel much less sore and my feet don't feel as worn out. I highly recommend you try them for yourself, and if you're purchasing from the US, it's risk-free since they come with a 90-day money-back guarantee. I love that. Now, all of their insoles are customized, so make sure to take their quiz where you're going to enter your age, your weight, your shoe size, the sports and activities you play, and Victory is going to craft a custom set of insoles for you. I'll leave a link down below with the discount code to save you a few bucks as well. All right, it's time for our top 3 picks. All of these clubs I think are absolutely exceptional performers. There are a few things that separate them, so let's get into it. Coming in the number 3 spot is the Mizuno JPX 925 Hot Metal Pros. Now, there are a number of clubs in the Hot Metal line, but I'm specifically speaking here about the Pro version. These clubs have great feel. They have extremely good looks, especially looking down at a dress. You're not going to get a big chunky looking top side, which a lot of people don't like. You're also not going to get too much offset in the club, which is the little bend from where the hosel meets the club face itself. These clubs are very long, they are very straight, and they have good workability, which is the ability to shape your shots. And as you improve in golf, workability is something that you will value as you try to turn a ball left to right, right to left, flight it a little bit lower or a little bit higher depending on the course setup and the conditions that day. Now, for the first time, these Hot Metal Pros break the $1,000 barrier. So at $1,049, it looks really expensive, but it's actually only $50 more than the QI irons. But of course, there's a psychological thing there with the $1,000 mark, and this is the first one on my list that breaks that barrier. The other two coming will do that as well. That $1,049 is going to get you a 4-through pitching wedge. I ranked these clubs 92 points on my scale. For distance, I gave them 5 stars. For forgiveness, I gave them 5 stars as well. They're extremely easy to hit. Workability was a 4 out of 5, like I said, very good. Aesthetics, I gave a 4.5 out of 5, and I do think that Mizuno is one of the better manufacturers for many years here with their game improvement irons. They also have really good feel, even though it's a cast club, it's not a forged club, they have really good feel to them, like you would expect from a Mizuno. And they took a little bit of a ding here for value, but just like the other 2 clubs here on my list, you're gonna have great resale potential from a set of Mizunos, whereas you may not get as much value retention from some of the other clubs that were higher up on the list. All in all, a fantastic release from Mizuno here with their Hot Metal Pros, and very deserving of the number 3 spot. Coming in at the number 2 spot for me, it's going to be the Ping G440s. These are quite frankly the longest irons I tested in 2025. In fact, during my testing with a 4 iron, which was the lowest club I had there in the bag that day, I hit one 242 yards. Now, yes, there was a little bit of wind behind me, and yes, I took a big swing at it, but still, that's the type of distance that I get generally out of a 3 wood, and I was getting it out of a 4 iron. That's how long they are. Now, the loss with all game improvement clubs are going to be quite pressed, but these actually are not quite as pressed as the Wilson Dynapowers, for instance. And the great thing about Ping is you actually have the ability to use a more retro spec loft, where you can get a little bit more height in the shots, sacrificing a little bit less distance, but also adding a little bit more stopping power too. There's even a more pressed loft than this one as well, but I can't even imagine. That would be too much power for this mere mortal to handle for sure. All in all, I think the normal loft setup is probably right for most people. They are very, very long. Now, when these clubs are struck in the middle, they feel just as good as anything. But I will say on off-center hits, one little drawback of these is the sound is a little clicky and the feeling is a little more harsh. There's a little bit more vibration. But again, you know you hit it off-center. And for a lot of folks that are shopping in this game improvement category, and hopefully you're trying to work on your ball striking, knowing where you hit them on the club face is important. Now, I've never been a massive fan of Ping iron looks, to be quite honest, but I will say they are getting much better. I really enjoyed last year's Blueprint irons. I thought those were as good looking as anything out on the market. And for game improvement irons, I think these new G440s are pretty slick. And I like these irons so much that I've actually got them in my bag. If you saw my what's in the bag, I am carrying the 4 and 5 iron from this set, along with more players like irons. But what I found is my gapping from the 4 to the 6 iron, meaning the distance that I hit each club, was only like 10 yards different between the 4 and the 6 iron. So having the 4 and 5 iron allows me to have better gapping throughout the bag, and I'm getting all that forgiveness on the clubs that are hardest to hit. So something to think about. I ranked these clubs 96 points, and here's how I scored it. I gave it 5 out of 5 for distance. As we've talked about, forgiveness, I gave 5 out of 5. Workability, the ability to shape your shots, which again, we don't see too often when it comes to a game improvement iron, I gave that a 5 out of 5. The aesthetics, I gave 4.5 out of 5. And value, I also gave 4.5 out of 5. The price on these Pings for a 4-through pitching wedge set is going to be $10.99, so another $50 up there from the Mizuno JPX Hot Metal Pros. Again, just like those Mizunos, the resale value off a set of Ping irons are going to be at the top end of the market. So if you don't absolutely love your irons, you want to change down the road, maybe you want to move to the Blueprints or to another brand altogether, you're going to be able to get much more of your investment back, and that's why I rated that value so high. So great clubs from Ping, and clearly they get the stamp of approval since they are in my bag. All right, the moment we've all been waiting for, time for my number one pick here, what I think are the best game improvement irons in 2025. The title this year goes to, for the first time ever, Srixon and their ZXi4 irons. Now the ZXi4 features a forged face. It's a little confusing because it just lists forge on the back of the club, but really the face is forged, the back of the club or the rest of the body of the club is actually cast. So it's multi-material construction, but let me tell you, it feels as good as any forged club I have ever tried. In fact, it's so good, you could blend these irons with the more player-oriented club, their ZXi5 line, and really, you wouldn't feel a difference in my opinion. The distance on these is absolutely incredible. Maybe not quite as far as I hit the Ping G440s, but it was not too far away either. These things are serious rocket launchers. And they've got the forgiveness to boot. Looking down at these clubs, you honestly would not think you're swinging a game improvement club. The top line is beveled and very well tapered in order to give you the look of a player's iron so that you could blend these with the ZXi5s if you want. I think overall, to me, these are the best aesthetics I've ever seen in a game improvement iron. The sound just as exceptional as the feel and looks. Now, if there's one drawback to these irons, is that you have to have some seriously deep pockets for them. They are some of the most expensive options that are out on the market right now. A 4-through pitching wedge set will run you $1,299. I scored these irons 98 points on my rating scale. Here's how I broke it down. Distance, I gave a full 5 out of 5 stars. Forgiveness, 5 out of 5 stars. Workability, I gave 5 out of 5 stars. These are the best shot shaping irons in this category, bar none. And that is something, again, I could see lower handicap players, including myself, using irons like this at the top end of their bag, kind of like I'm doing with the Pings. Aesthetics, I gave a 5 out of 5, and the only knock here is for the value, 4.5 out of 5. And again, why it's so high is because the resale value on these Srixons, just like the Pings, the Mizunos, these are gonna hold their value at the top end of the market too. I do not give clubs 98-point rankings often. It is very, very rare on this show. I only think it's happened off the top of my head 2 or 3 times, but these clubs are deserving of that 98-point score. And I think that a lot of folks need to start taking a look at what Srixon's doing. We're seeing them out on tour being used by more players. They're winning championships, and they've flown under the radar too long. This brand is really incredible. If you've got the money for them, whether it's secondhand or buying them new, I highly recommend you give them a shot. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this list. I always love to hear the discussion down below. So let me know if you've tried some of these clubs, what you think. Is my rating correct? Am I wrong? I want to hear all about it down in the comments section. If you do want to explore some of the best irons that I've tested here this year and you want to take a deeper dive on those reviews, I will leave the links down in the description for you, alongside the Victory Soul link with the discount code. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you back here next time on another edition of Let's Play Through.